What's up, guys? This is Chris Baker, aka the Giraffe Brewery, with my version 2 of opinions on adds and cuts to Mal's Cube for the MTG Arena Pauper Cube that we've been doing every month here. Gotta say, every single iteration, I think the cube has gotten better and more interesting, and more archetypes are being opened up and showing viability. Yeah, and I've had a lot of fun with it. So, kind of like doing a little audit of the cube to basically just create a list of cards that I think I would like to play in the cube and cards that I don't think I'll ever play in the cube, which could kind of be on, like his watch list, and cards that might be on the watch list for the way in. So I've got 5 columns here separated by color and then multi-artifact land. These are potential adds. I probably have more potential adds than potential cuts. The last 2 columns here are potential cuts. So we'll go over them one by one. Quick thoughts, quick hits on some of the rationales, and one gripe. I mean, let it get mini rant, something that grinds my gears here. How are we playing on Arena when there's no sort option? I had to custom put these cards. There's no sort by color. There's no sort by converted mana cost. There's no sort by type. It's insane. And it's probably number one reason why I refuse to play sealed on Arena. I'm not going to export it to sealeddeck.tech and then re-import it and stuff. It's too annoying. And the price structure is terrible. But anyway. All right. How do we make this cube better? Maybe by adding some of these cards. All right, let's look at white first. Some cards that I would think would be cool. All right, let's start with this guy, Tethmos High Priest. Heroic gets things back that are 2 CMC or less. It's not that strong on its own, but I like using this guy with Conviction as a 2-card combo that lets you just keep rebuying your 2-drop guys, which works really well if you sacrifice those guys with Vermin Gorger, if you have some small creature ETB effect, something like that. Conviction looks bad, but it's interesting how sometimes it just puts creatures completely out of range, and you can mid game and late game hold open the mana 24/7, so you never really lose this card. And so it creates repeatable heroic triggers, which is pretty sweet for cards like Tethmos. But it's actually it's not that bad on its own. Compared to I think it looks terrible. But that's I'm curious to see how this goes. What else works with this guy? A lot of the blink, flicker type effects. You can even point a 2 damage removal spell. The 2-mana creature comes into play untapped? Yeah, not tapped. So it's like a combat trick. I just think it's a cool thing to look for in the draft. It might be tough to assemble a combo like Conviction or Tethmos, but it's a 360 cube. So if they did exist, it's one of those kind of Splinter 20 type things that you're just kind of looking out for. Okay. So let's move on to Flaming Fist Duskguard. Having I've loved the perpetual stuff, especially when they just create things you haven't seen before. It seems like a small boost, but I think white 2-drops this does pretty well. It can either apply pressure, or can eat a removal spell, or it can trade up on mana. And it can potentially do some loops where, I don't know, maybe an unblockable creature gets a point of power, or anything that benefits from the power boost has better attacks in the future. Anything with First Strike, anything with Lifelink, anything with flying. It's pretty, I think, innocuous to look at this guy on paper, but when you start comboing him with things, I think he could be a very strong 2-drop. So I like potential inclusion there. All right, next one, Nyxborn Unicorn. Mentor pretty good for like white curve outs if you actually have a one drop, like a Suntail Hawk type card. Um, and then I think the bestow late, like this creates attacks out of nowhere that could be pretty good. Another thing to note with a lot of these cards is I've gained, or a lot of cards that have repeat value have gained a bit of respect for me. The more that you kind of play this Pauper Cube, you understand most cards are one shot value, but anything that has repeat value usually will have like, it'll be like slightly under cost or overcosted or understated relative to what you're getting after one iteration. But like if it doesn't get answered, it just kind of has snowball potential. So I like cards that have that capacity. Pilgrim of the Ages, I was looking at this guy. I kind of agreed with Mal's criticism of it, of like doesn't understand why it's good. I think you look at it as similar to like Civic Wayfarer in green, like just 2 power guy that finds the land, great. But the point of this is it has repeat value potential. Now, the reason why this might not be good enough for the cube is because 6 mana is a lot. But what I found with playing this guy in limited and chaos drafts and just, various drafts all over the time is like it finds the land, so you get to 4. And then if you do get to recur it and replay it again, it finds another land, and it just like gets you to the point where you're just going to have way more lands in play than you would without this guy, potentially. And yeah, it's like sort of an infinite chump blocker on the ground. It's not like the most offensive card, but I like it in a really, like, it helps white have some avenues to create a more controlling version instead of just like all out attacking. White with the addition of all the bounce creatures, kind of, it just can play a little bit more of like a mid-range, either like it can be aggro if it wants to be, or it can play more controlling. And so this, I think, just fits more in the controlling shell, but like most of the white cards are designed to be more aggressive, and I just like this one more than the aggressive ones. Scroll Shift, I think, is actually really good now. There's so many, Tithing Blade effects, Crowdgen Relic, nice with an Archaeomancer effect to actually create value. Like, the 3 mana price tag is what's, holding this back from being included, I would think. But the value that it can generate, it's like a key piece to a deck that supplements this with like a lot of 1 and 2 mana plays that include removal or potentially removal that hits the battlefield, like the artifact, like the Tithing Blade effect. So I think this would be a cool card to have in those decks. Last one here, Pegasus Guardian. Yeah, just another way to create value from all the flickering. There's white, blue and stuff. Has, I think, capacity to do well creating. This isn't like infinite advantage, but some added advantage when you have adventure spells, when it's basically able to create 2-for-1s and not just like run out of gas. I like cards that help you not just flood and run out of gas. So this like is a mana intensive card that's pretty flexible, that can be a win con, it can be just helpful with Mold Drifter and just etc. So it kind of does a little bit of everything. A lot of these cards that are like shifted from uncommon down to common, they were powerful. Okay, moving on to blue. All right, Peak is interesting. Gitaxian Probe, I think, would be an auto include. I like this card because when you formulate a game plan after you get to see someone's hand, it's pretty fun to figure out what optimal plays are. I wouldn't love this card, in like constructed order. Everybody could cast it turn 1, and you really lose a lot of the value of Magic, which is hidden information. But every now and then, I like kind of like breaking through that and seeing some info to see how it works. 1 mana instants are very nice too at trying to support the Spells Matter deck, which I think needs a little bit of a boost. So that's just another addition for that. Slitherblade, it's even a snake. I think Ninjas needs maybe a little bit of help, and this is a 1-drop Shore that helps a Ninja come down on turn 2, but I feel like Ninjas has this problem where, great, they landed their Ninja the Deep Hours turn 2. When they replay their 1-drop, if it's a 1/1 flyer at best, that can just be blocked now by various creatures, and so now you have to have removal for those creatures, and like putting this guy back down is like saying, if I have more Ninjas in my deck, you have to kill this guy. You can't just block. So I like that, just like slightly different avenue of attack. And I might as well mention, yeah, it's the same exact logic for Changeling Outcast. I don't think there's a lot of value in the creature types mattering, but just completely unblockable 1-drops, I think, are a nice thing to add for the Ninjas decks. And I mean, even just for black-red aggro decks, like something like Changeling Outcast or blue-red tempo aggro decks, they are just kind of must-answer threats. These things maybe wear counters well. These things are, you put a Bone Splitter on this thing, right? And it's still pretty good. Okay, next, Geistwave. I really started liking this card after the Midweek Magic event. Targeting my own Cryogen relics just for value. But again, it's similar to Scroll Shift to me in that sometimes you need to bounce a token or a Banishing Light effect mid-combat on your opponent's side, or they go to double block and you block and you bounce something, or you get a little bit value by bouncing maybe a need to be effect creature on your own or some sort of like artifact. Really nice with Cryogen Relic, like experimental, what is that called? I forget. Experimental Synthesizer, the one red artifact that draws cards. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Clear the Mind, and I kind of agreed with Mel's counter arguments. This card that's kind of not necessary. 3 mana cycling is kind of bad. The reason why I'll pretty much advocate for this card to the end of time is because its presence enables an archetype in and of itself of Clear the Mind is the win con, and now I can be confident that my 20 removal plus card draw deck has an avenue to not deck itself. And if I have, like, let's say Tolarian Terror and an Archaeomancer and like one other, maybe a couple other good threats, if those threats die to removal, and my control deck has just like answered all of their things, but my things are not difficult to answer. There's not many of them. Clear the Mind ensures that you can just like do the loops. This is like the best draft deck that came out of Ravnica Allegiance, at least for me, from a fun perspective. And it creates anything that creates a deck building puzzle, especially during the draft, where it's like, okay, how do I find, almost like Delirium, how do I find a right mix of removal, card draw, fixing, things to stay alive, and a win con. And this is just like, it's just an alternate style win con that I find a little bit more fun than just like attacking with a 5/5 or something like that. So yeah. Next, all right, these freaking perpetual cards, I'm just loving them. Like giving things flying that like shouldn't have flying. I want to see what we can give flying, and see what kind of achievements. Just some big dumb idiots. I don't know, things. The Saboteur effects, like a Jessian Thief type effect. Ooh, that might be nice. I don't know. I got potential for this guy. I'm curious. I haven't seen much of like classic blue-white flyers archetype, like Stormfront Pegasus, right? Is in the cube, and the Wind Reader. There's a blue one a blue 2/1 flyer. I just haven't seen just like generic flyer deck exist. And this could maybe be a boost to that deck. Next here is Serpentine Curve. I had some games with Mal. Yeah, we saw Seize the Storm had a bit of an combo with Treasure Cruise where when you exile some of your spells, it doesn't make your Seize the Storm tokens bigger. So this at least doesn't have that problem. It does cost less mana. It doesn't have the flashback value, but flashback 7 is super expensive. And this, it does have lower cost rebuy value. So you play a few spells, you play it as like a 3/3, 4/4 early, it trades with something, but you can Archaeomancer it back, create another threat, and it just kind of grows and scales with the game pretty well. Again, I like this as a similar. It's like a win con for spells decks, control, counter spells, removal decks that kind of scales with the game. Unlike those, 3 mana 2/2s that put a +1/+1 counter on them when you cast a spell. The order that you draw those cards just matters so much. In this one, it doesn't. It's a really nice, kind of added win con, stays a spell. I like Curve. Okay, moving to black. This is the wrong pile. Haha. Witch's Cauldron. Main boon for this is repeatable value. There are other cards that fit this role with Makeshift Munitions, Vermin Gorger, etc. So I think it just like helps people get into that archetype. It gives you a plan. Like you take this early or see it wheel, you go, oh, I should be trying to find ways to create a bunch of tokens or get a few creatures that have recursion value, like the all the little skeleton creatures. It's a black permanent in play for a gray merchant, etc. It's pretty solid there. Absent Devotee, I've been more and more impressed with creatures that can bring themselves back. These are good to discard or rummage away early. They can trade with creatures early. This one can fix mana. Fixing mana just lets people keep more hands in the early game. It lets you splash things more easily. It lets you be a little bit more powerful or creative in your deck building. It does so much for a 2 mana card. Like, I'm trying to not play decks where my 2 mana cards are just completely, outclassed when I draw them on turn 10 or whatever, right? This card kind of does a lot. Yeah, I like it. Playcrafter's Familiar. What can we give Death Touch? How about some things with First Strike? About some things with Trample. It trades with anything in and of itself. Perpetual, really great. Black is the recursion color too, so I think this one in particular, you play it on 2, you're going to get some good value. Yeah, even like a Saboteur type creature now, can't just be chumped. It'll trade with anything, and then potentially getting this back with a recursion effect and like keeping it going. I could see, even green fight spells combined with this well. Yeah, there's so many interesting things that this opens up again for 2 mana innocuous card that can create a lot of interesting combos and things. So yeah, I like it. And Bile-Blight. Bile-Blight, I think, just helps create, an added Pyroclasm-y type effect against maybe some tokens. It's a little cost restrictive, which is not against it, but I like it when some cards are double pip so that the person who's maining that color is almost rewarded and might see this more likely on the wheel. And then the 3, 4, 5 color decks that want to splash black removal are less likely to take this card. It's not like insane, but I could see it if there were more creature token value things. But I think this helps when there's just not that many Pyroclasm or Suffocating Fumes effects. That might be another card to add to this list. Cycles away and potentially deals with lots of creatures, and it's an instant, so it affects all your opponent's creatures, right? So it can just help you win a combat, even if they don't have a bunch of X1s. Okay, moving on to red. Okay, Kudeltha Rebirth seems like a narrow card, but I think we're at the point where narrow but powerful is what I like for cube. If you look at powered cube drafts, right? Yeah, it's riddled with narrow but powerful cards. So I'm not thinking about like, oh, only one or two drafters at the table would even want this. It's more like, what deck does this go in? Some sort of black-red artifact deck. How good is it in that deck? It's very good. Like, incredibly good for 1 mana. If you just assume you'll have an artifact, which some of these decks will have a plethora of artifacts, then this card's insanely good. So I think it ups the power level compared to some of the other like red 1-drops in the cube. Constructed powerhouse too, right? So sometimes we got to be influenced by our constructed friends there. Okay, Impact Tremors. It's not the most insane card, but I think it's a bit of a build around. It's good if you're like rebouncing your own creatures. It's good if you're creating tokens. It's good if your deck lacks reach and burning them out. Like a lot of the rationale for I was told some of the red removal needs to be able to go to the face is for reach, and like this card helps that plan. So I like these cards. They're build aroundy. We do have the 3-mana one, the Raid Bombardment or something, where they ping if they get attacked. So that's a little bit more powerful because you can attack repeatedly in this. Typically creatures only enter once, but again with black skeletons, you can like sack it, replay it from the graveyard over and over and over again. So it's kind of a combo with that. And what's the main reason why I like this? I think it's because I want to lean into archetypes feeling and playing different, not just like black red being an aggro version of white red, right? Or blue red. They're just not having them all be just different versions of either like attacking to kill you or trying to stop people from attacking and killing us and then winning with like card advantage. Like Impact Tremor is like, you don't even need to attack. You just assemble a little combo engine here and it does the work on its own, creates this inevitable threat. So it supports like, yeah, all the pinging Thermo Alchemist type direct damage effects. I think it's cool. Kiln Fiend, I can't believe is not in the cube. In terms of the amount of damage and power that this thing can create, even without direct synergies. Just very explosive. Belongs mostly in blue red, but I think it can go into lots of decks. Just a really threatening 2-drop. Scared of this guy when it gets cast. Helps create, the red X spells, blue red mainly like aggro archetype. So like that guy. Again, with all Omen of the Forge, I think, right, is under powerful, too much cost. It would be great if it cost 1. But with the addition of all of these bounce your creature, core Skyfisher type cards, having just a density of things that you actually want to return to your hand is pretty good. It turns this into a bit of a control mid-range strategy. I think Omen of the Forge actually just fits. And I see that deck as black-white, and it often wants to either splash red or blue, depending on what kind of cards it sees. But I think Omen of the Forge could be a good fit in that deck. Sunshot Militia. All right, there's whole archetypes built around this card. Having a little bit of reach in the late game and a use for all these trinkety little blood tokens and things that get created. It creates, again, another 2-drop that's kind of like this weird must-answer card if the game goes late and you're kind of at a bit of a stalemate. I especially like sometimes when you get chip damage in early, you build your board, they build their board, you're a little head in the life total race, and all of a sudden when things are stable by, I don't know, turn 10, you just go, okay, if I tap out my whole board right now, I deal them 5 damage, and then let's say they're at 8 life, and like they have the a big board of, let's say, creatures, but if they can't alpha you in one turn, you alpha them back, so like they can't attack still. So you're basically getting free attacks in, even though they might have the ground gummed up. But it's just so flexible, like so good with equipment. Um, yeah, there's a lot of more artifacts running around now, so I think he fits that archetype pretty well. Early blocker as well. Burning Curiosity, this might not be good enough. There's 2 mana effects that create this same thing, but the Blight one can be beneficial on cards that can remove their counters, like the Brambleback Brute. But like 3 mana for potentially 3 cards is just so good late game, and I think a red aggro deck really loves this type of card, which is the same thing with like Ren's Resolve and the other one, Reckless Impulse, right? So it kind of fits along that theme. It might not be as good as those though. So same logic here with Glimpse the Impossible. Really helps this sort of like green-red ramp style deck get more mana. The spawns can be used with like Rising Chrysalis to help it grow, and then just like top deck late game value. Just so nice to potentially be able to play 3 things. But this card's in particularly just good because you can play it on turn 3, just get your 3 0-1s, and then everything goes to the graveyard. So you're like, it helps self-mill plan Malevolent Rumble and, you know, Urborg Repossession and all the little green Enoch Wayfarer. Like it helps glue this theme together of what I see as green red and green black, and like Jund have a want to mill themselves or just get cards in their graveyards so that they can recur. The problem I've had with some of those decks is, yeah, like Urborg Repossession does nothing when nothing has died yet and nothing's in your graveyard. Your opponent has some exile removal, and you need velocity of mill in your graveyard. This card helps with that. Okay, so next, Glassworks, another similar to the Omen. It's 3 mana, 4 damage, not like the best rate, but you could pick it up with core Skyfisher things for repeatableness, which I think makes up for the fact that it's a little bit overcosted. And then I wouldn't underrate 5 mana, deal 1 every turn. Again, it's a common planeswalker effect essentially, and these things that are slightly overcosted but create a world where you never run out of things to do with your mana. I love them. I don't want people flooding out in these games and just like drawing lands and have nothing to do. And again, giving these aggro decks a bit of reach, it creates a good alternative access to attacking. So that's why I like Glassworks. Next is, Cultivate. I almost can't believe this card's not on the cube. It's just so explosive for ramp. Like a green deck wants to play like an elf on 1 and this thing on 2, and then you're off to the races. It double fixes, so it helps enable multicolor splashes. Yeah, this card's great. Nothing to not like about it. Sticky Talon got taken out last time for like Voracious Vermin, and Voracious Vermin is just not a card I think matters very much at all. And while this is a different color than like all the white cards that pick up permanents, there's lots of good permanents to pick up, and I've splashed this before in a deck that has Kraujin Relic or Tithing Blade or something like that. 3/3 reach for 3, also just good. This card is just great. Like fills a role in a color. Like an early blocker against ninjas is totally great. It just kind of does it all. It just seems off that it's in green, right? But I like that card. There's like some density too, right? Like just if you really want to support, yeah, picking up your own permanents and stuff, you can pick up your own lands too. Yeah, just like having a density of the effect makes it a little bit more consistently viable. So yeah, I think it's good. This card looks a little innocuous until you like play it in draft, and its draft format. It's just super annoying against removal. It's helpful against multiple spell creatures. It double blocks well. It's basically like it's the logic of why spider spawning was good. Like when you can make a bunch of 1/2 reaches, they defend well. So I like this card. It might be sideboard material, which is why it's like not in the cube, but I like it as like a bridge to some of these green decks that just need more mana and more time to set up. But the inherent value of like just getting a 2-for-1 with this card and trading with 2 creatures, trades with like 2/1 flyers and completely bricks a lot of the 1/1 flyers. I'm a fan of that guy. Ooh, Fungal Colossus. All right, this is a little narrow of card, right? But I know I play these decks where if I'm playing green, I'm playing 3 to 4 to 5 colors, and I'm highly prioritizing the lands. It's so easy to play a different land on every single turn. So that means like if you have 4 different lands on turn 4, this will cost 3 mana. Turn 3, it'll cost 4. Yeah, so the first turn you could play this at its best is a 3 mana 5/5 on turn 4. So you have to think, is a 3 mana 5/5 on turn 4 like good enough for the cube? If it's not, then you don't include it. But if it is, which I would say definitely is, then you go, okay, how often does this make someone's deck? And it's not big enough of a reward for someone to be in multicolor. I think Skyrider Elf has the same sort of problem. Like you spend 5 mana, all different colors, you did the thing, you got domain, and you get a 5/5 flyer for 5, and they just kill it in so many different ways, and it didn't get its value. But I like cards like this because this can be a great double spell guy, similar to Gurmag. If you like Gurmag Angler, this is very similar, right? It's late game, you're going to be able to have a 1 mana 5/5 a lot of the time in decks that it goes in, and then it trades with something or eats a removal spell, and then if you ever get a chance to recur it, you're going to be able to double spell and have 1 mana 5/5s. Yeah, that is sweet. If I'm playing a vanilla creature in this commons cube, I want a 1 mana 5/5, and some of that is deck building. I think is fun when you can go, I can make a deck that this card will shine in, and the rest of the deck is actually good and functional too. But I think kind of better than Skyrider Elf in terms of potential to invest less mana and get rewarded for multicolor, multi-land payoffs is like very, very welcome type thing. Good late game threat, right? If I can get a late game threat that doesn't cost 5, 6, 7 mana, I'm on board. Okay, multi artifact and land all put together here. Grizzly Salvage. All right, so this is the type of card I want my green black decks using. I want to search for my better cards. I want to fill my graveyard, and get that selection going, right? I think that's what like green black and Jund and all these almost like Delirium and recursion type decks want the acceleration for. Malevolent Rumble, Enoch Wayfire, like this card makes that archetype even a little bit more boosted. So I like it. Okay, our Piercer Bow is interesting. Probably not on the cube because it's sort of a sideboard-ish material, but again, it's a repeat value effect, pretty cheap, and being able to repetitively answer 1 toughness things or like now my 2 power guy can attack into a 3 toughness guy. This card helps decks that want to attack with small creatures, break through big creatures, or deal with, like, if you got like a little skeleton bugging you 24/7, at least this thing, like if you don't have exile removal, at least this thing just prevents it from walking you every time. It creates a different avenue of attack. So yeah, repeat value. One annoying part about this card is that the equipment does the damage. So you think if you had a death touch creature attacking, it would just kill anything. Unfortunately, it's not as cool as that. But I still think it's good. If I'm playing a deck that wants to attack, I think I would like having this in some main decks, but definitely like a very good sideboard card. Okay, next is Ichor Wellspring. Again, it's like Cryogen Relic, a little bit worse, but the black sacrifice stuff works really well with it. I think we're at the point where, we've got Refurbished Familiar and Cranial Ram, and like this card just belongs with other artifacts. There are enough density of other artifacts, and it can technically just go in any deck and be decent value. So I like these cards that let you keep more opening hands. Turn 2 play that helps smooth your draws. Yeah, very, very nice. Okay, Warrior Farmer, new card. Looks vanilla E, but hybrid mana is nice because it can go into different decks. Statted, average. But again, repeat effects, surveilling at the end of every turn potentially is so helpful for like a green or white, whatever, green, white, or green X, white X, aggro decks. Why? Like, these decks just don't have those late game mana sinks that a lot of other decks do. They're going to be playing creatures very often, right, in these colors. So don't underestimate repeated effects and anything that smooths out your draws and dumps those extra lands to the bin. Okay, Bender's Waterskin. Again, this is a card that I would play in like my Clear the Mind decks for sure. 5-color fixer, essentially taps for 2 mana. Like think about it. Just kind of think of that read, like 3 mana, artifact, tap, add 2 of any 2 different colors. Like, that's broken, right? Now it can't do it in the same turn, so it's not as broken, but the enabling of what it does is so nice. Being an artifact helps some decks too, but I like the ability to just like go off and make some of these concessions for power. Like, some of these cards are powerful, but they're a little expensive, and this card helps mitigate some of that. Teachings, I just didn't even realize this was on Arena. I forgot it was. Loved this card when I started playing Time Spiral Draft back in the day. It's probably not good enough in this cube, but I like it in the sense that the only problem with it is it's expensive, but it creates an interesting deck building puzzle where do you have relevant cards to find with it. Being instant, I think, is incredibly important because right now there's not really a good enough archetype that can just be like draw go, and I have definitely a few friends that prefer draw go type archetypes, and you need a density of just like good things to do with your mana, instant speed. So even just like finding exclude with this, even just finding cast down, flashing back later, slow but like tutoring. Like, there's not a lot of tutoring in Pauper Cube, right? Like finding exact answers. Yeah, instants and cards with flash. Can't think of. I'm sure there might be some interesting creatures with flash too, and like if the inclusion of this was thought about, like this is definite maybe board right now. But if a few flash creatures get created that are super cube worthy, then like this starts thinking like, oh, I got flash creature targets, and I have some silver bullet type removal spells and stuff. I'm on the lookout for cards like this. Good for spells matter archetype as well. Flashback as well for like Seize the Storm. Actually, having flashback still contributes to its growth. So very nice. Overwhelming Remorse. This card's, I think, again, it looks bad because you think it's going to be expensive, but in the decks this goes in, it's Swords to Plowshares, right? You just need to self-mill a little bit and have creatures in your deck. This is such a great like draft deck building puzzle where this card is great, but not the same level of great for every deck. So the Grixis control deck that doesn't have a lot of creatures or self-mill is going to pass this, right? But this like green-black and Jundi version of self-mill, it's going to freaking love this card. I think Exile's relevant. Having the potential to be cheaper is great, but even at 2 to 3 mana, this card's still good. And it's just not that hard to have creatures trade or self-mill into creatures. So it's just, fantastic card. Same vein. Writhing Necromass. It could be a 1 mana 5/5 Death Touch, which is great. You have to do a little setup cost and work to get there. But, again, you can kind of see I have plans for green-black, and it's involving self-mill and these payoffs. You need nice cards that other people won't take that kind of go in your deck. And not some of these other cards that are in the cube. Okay, last card. Again, this is ambitious, but put it on the maybe list. But I like a thing that's different. 7/7 flyer is just on rate, just way different than anything in this entire format. Kills just about anything. It's like a station is interesting because there's some creatures that get benefits from being tapped. I think having ramp targets is nice because it's a wheel, and the ramp multicolor decks will find value in it. It's a little narrow though; doesn't go into very many archetypes, right? Maybe like a Grixis control style deck, but yeah, I think it's powerful. Overall, trying to find power and synergy balances in the cube. Okay, so these are just like cards that I see on the bench that have some potential, that maybe I gave a little bit of rationale for why I like them. And then these last 2 rows, let's go over these. These are cards that like I either don't like or don't think I would ever play them, or they're just like not quite powerful enough. Or we need to make room. We need to make some room. I'm trying to fit in some of this stuff that I like or would think would make the cube more powerful or synergistic or interesting, etc., etc. We gotta make room somewhere. All right. Not that after all, there is only one of this effect in the cube, and it is this. And it is probably the best version of this effect because it creates the permanent Wicked Roll token. I've just maybe drafted this, maybe have seen it late in packs. I'm never putting it in my deck because it just doesn't do enough on its own. It can be blowouts when you get it to happen, right? It's nice when you have self-sacrifice effects. But it's just like not needed is my problem. Like I haven't needed this a lot of the times, and it is reactive. Not in love with this card relative to like Ephemerate, where like the creature might not die even after you cast this, but Ephemerate, I don't know, just does more than this type of thing, which I don't know, just found this to not really make a lot of decks. Ancestral Blade, I think it reads fine, but it's a little vanilla for me. I'm not trying to pick this thing up, even though it can recreate a 1/1 that will be a 2/2. This doesn't do enough. The 2-drops that I'm like suggesting, I think do more. It is an artifact though, but I think artifacts matter more in black, red, secondary, blue. Do not think they matter in green or white. So that like this being an artifact, you think is like a little bonus. I just don't think it's relevant. Same logic with carrot cake. Oh, it's an artifact. I don't think it matters. White. Um, yeah, making 2/1/1s, gaining some life. This is trinkety and nice. Maybe Sunshot Familiar or Sunshot Militia or whatever. Like, it's fine, but just never making any of my white decks not powerful enough. And the synergy is like, it's fine. It's more interesting and powerful things I think you can be doing at 2 mana. Cathar Commando, again, I think it's what same reason why the 2 mana green Voracious Vermin was included. You think you need to have some sacrifice effects. I don't know. Maybe with mystical teachings, this being a tutorable way to get artifact and enchantment hate is good. It's fine. There's Westfield something, another 2 mana 3/1 that doesn't cost any mana to sacrifice. Doesn't have flash and has to be done at sorcery speed, I think, but just more mana efficient. Flash has some value. It's not a bad card, but it's not a card again that I'm like, to me it's more of a sideboard card. And there's not a lot of like interesting things it does, or I guess we do need some answers to the makeshift munitions of the world. It's good to have some outs, but there's like Thraben Charm and stuff like that too. Hopeful Vigil, classic good combo with picking up permanents. I'm not finding that the picking up permanents deck needs 2/2s for 2 and just attack with small little bodies and then play more 2/2s. Like, that's one avenue attack, but I've found that there's plenty of other good things to pick up. Even picking up Novice Inspectors is fine, but I'm usually picking up stuff other than 2/2 for 2. So I'm just finding this card to be underwhelming for my 2-drop. Blink I love. Blink is great, but I can't put it in any decks. It's it goes in blue-white when you have like Mole Drifter, but I'm finding the mana cost on the flashback to like I'm never able to hold it open. The game is already won. If I can hold 4 open to prevent removal spells from hitting my guys, or like to get something out from a enchantment removal, I've already won. So I find just 2 mana blink, just so much worse than Ephemerate, and then I'd rather almost just have Scroll Shift as a value engine. That's the issue with this card, I guess. You flash it back once, and then it's gone. But Scroll Shift, you could keep getting back. It's part of like Archaeomancer looping, and this also doesn't target your Tithing Blades and stuff. So again, why I kind of like Scroll Shift over it. Here's something I watch. This card, I love it. It's an instant. It's cheap. Deals with a decently big creature. It can pump your team when you're aggro. It's like flexible. It kind of just does a little bit of everything right. But I just keep finding like, what deck would I put this in? It's basically just mostly good in a white aggro, white flying deck. I don't really see. It's just a narrow. It's a flexible card, but it is narrow when it's good for the archetypes that it would go in, and so I just don't think it's a high pick, and I don't see it being, I don't know, that great. But I do like its flexibility, so I can see it not necessarily being bad enough to cut, but it's like on my list of, I'm looking out for other better cards that exist or get created in future sets. Butler, I think it's fine. Like, helping initiate the mill is great. What I'm finding is 2 mana 1/2, pretty bad stats for doing anything relevant, and people don't care if it dies. You getting 1 creature back is not a big deal. The relevant things are skeletons that can occur in loops with Gravedigger type things. This being a 1-shot and then like not having potential to trade with anything more than 1 toughness, like it does nothing against 2 toughness things. It's just doesn't quite do enough. There's better things to do than this guy. All right, Mother Bear. Mother Bear seems like a lot of value. Like discard it and then 5 mana 2/2/2s. Seems like could be good, but I don't know. Again, this cube just having like a plethora of 2/2s and vanilla stuff. Um, it's just not what I'm trying to do. It's not interesting. It's not like that synergistic. It's not that powerful. Not needed, in my opinion. Growth Spiral, I think it's too cost restrictive for what you get out of it. So even in the green-blue deck, and you have green and blue available on turn 2, I don't think it's relevant or powerful enough. Like, look at all the brainstorms and preordains and ponders and stuff that just exist for blue. Like, you don't need to make a hard to cast thing to barely ramp. Green has heavy ramp, right, with the elves and the potential cultivates and far seeks of the world. Like, you just underpowered for restrictive cost. Restrictive cost on turn 2 especially is magnified in how hard it is to cast, right? Because I'm probably wanting this type of card, Explore Effect, in my rampy 3+ color green deck, and I don't know. I'm not running this card. It's not enough. Not enough juice in there. Perilous Mirror, again, I look at this as more of a sideboard card against aggro. No ETB. Death triggers are tough in this cube. Like, yeah, you have to sack it for value, and just dealing 2 damage for 2 mana creatures, just not that relevant. Yeah, I haven't seen it. Some of these cards, it's like, yeah, I think I've only done 3 or 4 of these drafts so far, but it's like I've never seen this card get played once. Holy Cow, totally, again, it's flash, which makes it extra good, I think. Gain life and scratch, I think it's all good stuff, but it's a little vanilla and not that interesting. And what I'm finding is comparing to other 3s in white, I guess it's okay for like a blue-white archetype. I would like to see a blue-white archetype be a little bit better. So yeah, this card's not bad. I just don't love it. It's a card that I'm not like looking to put into my deck for any meaningful reason. But I do like this card though. Paladin's another card that, like, I think it's either like great or unplayable. Either they can't block this, they can't kill it, and it just beats them down, and they have you win the game because they never can deal with what it presents. Or they have a 4 toughness guy, and it does literally nothing. You don't have things with other counters, right? So, yeah, white attacking decks that require this 3 toughness guy, when there's like red and black have tons of ways to like kill this for like 1 mana. I'm not trying to create game plans that hinge on this thing not dying, otherwise I can't attack, right? So just not in love with them. I also think we've gutted a little bit of the +1/+1 counter theme because it's generally not insanely powerful. There are some obviously good combos with it, but as that fades a little bit in popularity, I still think it's good in green-white, but it's I don't know, not a card for me. Somebody else probably prove me wrong. Like, somebody's probably got it. Still don't like Underworld Charger. I think it's good as a card. Can create a tough threat. Ideally, you mill it first, so they don't just play a 4 toughness guy and it does nothing the rest of the game. But yeah, most of my black decks just don't care about attacking for 3 repeatedly or even 5. Like, I'm trying to use my graveyard for other things too. I don't love cards that the payoff's not great for really, like, your graveyard is a one-time resource when you decide to exile these things. I'm not trying to like lose all that value. Like, Treasure Cruise is worth it. Gurmag Angler can be worth it. But like using this every time, just a different style of generic black attacking deck that I'm not trying to draft. Vampire Spawn got recently back it in. It's like, yeah, too vanilla, not that interesting. It's a card that loses to 3 drops. There's so many 3-drop creatures that like cantrip, and this doesn't. So this only really matters if you're really trying to be aggressive or burn them out. But I think other cards are engine-y enough that do that. Like you don't need this as a supplemental way. You would just want this to be a Phyrexian Rager, draw more cards that find you skeletons and other card draw and other things that ping. It's just like it just doesn't do enough for what I want out of my 3-mana guy. Don't need him. And then yeah, Mal, we had a game where we talked about Striped River Winderwear. Totally fine. It's a 1-mana cycler. I think blue and blue-red would really like a creature or not a non-creature spell to be cycled so that it bolsters some of the spell stuff more than this creature. It's 7 mana, 5 hexproof. I think it's too expensive, too slow. It doesn't have enough impact. For this to be a worthy inclusion in the cube, I think you need, more reanimate effects and more ways to, ethereal armor, bolster this thing to give it flying and lifelink and first strike and all these like hexproof type cards that don't really like belong in the cube. So to me, this card doesn't have a home. Just a not necessary thing. By the time 7 mana hits and this thing comes into play, do they have a Death Clutch blocker? Can they chump block it into Oblivion? Can they fly over it? Like just 5/5 hexproof is just not enough for 7 mana. This cube is too powerful, too good. So I think that's a very easy cut in my mind. Okay, last row of potential cuts now. Mana Tithe. I'm never playing this card in my control decks because I'm trying to make sure that every top deck I have in the late game is relevant, and this card falls off a cliff, right? So this card works insanely well when you're like putting pressure on the board. 1, 2, 3 curve. You got power in play. They're on your opponent's on the back foot, and now their thing that tries to stabilize just doesn't resolve. I don't know. I think Force Spike exists on Arena, but it's not in this cube. Like maybe it's, to me it's just weird to have Mana Tithe but not Force Spike. Like if Force Spike would be, I guess there is some logic. Yeah, white uses this effect better because it's more of a beatdown deck, and blue doesn't. Blue could like it in the ninjas, fairies, style. Just having an instant up, and it can. I mean, these things they can nab their 5 mana spells every now and then, or a double spell turn, but I don't know. Too much variance for me. I'm not trying to get you with these things. Knowing now, there is value to knowing it exists in the cube, though, right? Having purely knowledge that like, oh shoot, he could have Mana Tithe, or he showed Mana Tithe game 1. Now game 2, I'm like, shit, do I play around this thing or not? Like it could be there. And often I think it's great to main deck this and then side it out game 2, and then just be wary. Like just leave your white mana open often, and maybe they'll play around it. But yeah, not a card for me. I know some people have liked it and maybe expressed that they've gotten people with it, but all good. Cloudifron Raptor. I find this to be a blue 1-drop that ninjas don't want because you don't want to pick it up and reset it. And so ideally, this is like a curve out aggro deck that increases its power or toughness every single turn. What deck is that? Is that blue-black? Ninjas? Maybe, but you don't want to pick this up. Okay. Blue-green? No. Blue-red? Maybe it fits in blue-red if you actually have Kiln Fiend and other things that can put pressure. Yeah, blue-white maybe? Makes sense? I don't know. I haven't seen this card be good. It's just a terrible top deck. Just a lot of work for like a payoff that isn't great. What could they have done? Flying, I don't know. Vigilance maybe? I don't know. This card, not good enough in my book. Of the blue enchantment removal spells, this one doesn't tap something. Doesn't potentially actually deal with it. And they can sacrifice it for value and all this stuff. It just doesn't get the blocker out of the way when you need it. Being 1 mana is pretty nice, but I've never seen this card get played yet. And it's not like decks in this cube can put a 4/5 power attacker in play early, and you need a cheap way to just insta deal with it. Like all the other cheap removal answers this. These types of creatures, right? So I don't know. It's not a spell, and it's not good to pick it up or anything. I just don't think it's like needed in blue decks. Like blue decks can find other ways to have removal. Yeah, what's the logic? Like nobody's playing mono blue. In mono blue, it's like necessary to have maybe some interaction and access and stuff like that, right? But not seeing it. Yeah, Witching Well. The issue with this card is that it pales in comparison to Cryogenic Relic, but like when you finally decide to draw your cards, it's gone, so it's no longer in play. So like, Sunspot Militia doesn't use it anymore. Scry 2 is nice. I guess Candy Trail is similar, but like Candy Trail can go in any deck in any color. And the Life Gain is super nice. And again, black and red are the artifact primary. Blue is super secondary, and this card is just I don't think it's needed in the cube. Taken beyond the multiverse over this. The spell mattering more than the artifact in blue is pretty key. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I've seen this card get played 0 times, and it gets passed a lot. And I think if I've had it, I've never had room for it. Okay, Grim Initiate. Yeah, I think you think it would be good in a black-red, some sort of trinkety sacrifice deck, and it does a little, but I don't know. Not a card I'm trying to play. I'm trying to play more skeletons or other things. I guess it would be good if you could bolster its power. I mean, it's pretty good with Bone Splitter. Yeah, I like it with Bone Splitter. I don't know about anything other than that, though. I'm curious other people's opinions. Again, I don't think I've seen this card in play once, so I don't think it's like a priority even for the one black-red deck that wants this type of card. Monster Ball, again, there's some like added value being placed on these cards because they cost 1 mana, I think. But this card's just not good. There's better cards that exist. You don't need this effect in green. Like there's already some other green punch spells that are just really good. And so, yeah, green can splash easily too. So it doesn't need to play bad removal that requires creatures to be bigger or in play. Green can just splash better removal spells. So I'm like just never playing this in green. It's also sorcery speed, so bad things can happen. Even if I have a 5/5 and I play this, like they could bounce or remove my creature in response too. So it's just not what I'm looking for in my green removal. Yeah, Maverick. It seems like it's like Grim Initiate. It's 1 mana. It's efficient. It could be putting counters on things. Could be filling your graveyard. It seems like it does it all for 1 mana, but none of it's like relevant. I have other ways to mow my graveyard. A 1/1 for 1 is like a mulligan. Just doesn't do anything. The 1/1 counter, the only card that matters is Evolution Witness, because it can get a card. But other than that, this is a mulligan. So yeah, if I have seen this get played, it was terrible. And the synergy that some of these cards are trying to offer at 1 mana, I just don't think is enough. Because again, they're terrible top decks. This card's maybe not the worst because it like can bin 2 lands or something, but you have a good card on top. You have played a 1/1, 4/1, and it's not that great. All right, same thing. Judge's Familiar. I like the unblockable creatures. This is a classic card of, sure, it does have some Mana Tithe, Force Spike value later, but you Ninja turn 1, great, but it just like sits there and maybe pings them a bunch, but maybe doesn't. I like that it's, I like hybrid mana costs a lot. I just don't think it's really needed. I like the unblockable 1-drops better. Gnawing Crescendo, totally fine for the effect that it creates, but there's already like Rally the Peasants and the white Blessed, whatever. 3 mana +2/+2. I just don't think there's too much of this effect is needed at all. Works well with like Cold Oath of Rebirth and Goblin Bushwhacker and a bunch of other little trinkety things. It like definitely works well for one style deck, but it's so like either they can't kill your stuff, you top deck, it does nothing, or it just wins the game on its own. A little too high variance for me. I don't like cards again that sometimes do absolutely nothing. This really only goes into one archetype, so it's gonna be like a last pick, not a priority pick ever. So yeah, just not a card I'm looking to play. The Ostrich Hordes, Painted Naturalists are basically the same. We have the Enoch Wayfarers. We could go with Sadar Wayfinder too. I think would be probably even better. Maybe we have Town Greeter. I don't even know. But like, there's just better things to do on 3 mana in green, and this doesn't ramp you. Cultivate would be so much better at enabling green to do what it wants. Is leverage its mana advantages. Like a 3/1 for 3. Yeah, 2/3. This one's especially bad because it can't get any land. So when you play turn 1 Evolving Wilds, yeah, all these both work the same. This is mostly why I don't like this. Turn 1 Evolving Wilds and some of the other ones, when you like mill 3 Civic Wayfinder, just so much better. You're getting lands back that you didn't mill with those 3. Yeah. So add that to my list of potential ads. The Civic, what is it called? Eccentric Farmer, something like that. 3 mana, 2/3, mill 3, put a land from your graveyard into your hand. So it doesn't check from the Among. So it's just better with Ash Barrens and Evolving Wilds, etc. Yeah, Dread Magleer, Expanding Ooze. I've kind of explained why I don't like these cards. The counters don't matter. It's just big dumb idiots. They're expensive. They're hard to cast. They're not on plan. Green Black can wait. Green Black can set up 1 mana 5/5s and mill their stuff instead. I have a lot of other ways to create value than these like mid-range things that don't have enough support. And then lastly, Imperial Oath. While this card I love, freaking fantastic card. Yeah, it's never making any of my decks. White control decks are not coming by super often. I don't know. I think it has a home somewhere, but I haven't found it yet. I do love the potential for like picking this up with an Archaeomancer in the late game. But again, if you have time to do that, you've kind of already won. But the Scry 3 and making a bunch of guys kind of ensures that you won't flood out and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's a bit expensive for what you're getting out of it. Maybe there's some sort of token tag. You can cost reduce this with what? Goblin Electromancer or anything else? Not sure. But overall, I'm finding the white decks are a little too curve out, present token, battle screech type, present flyers, just attack. Nothing like kind of boring mono white aggro. And like this card's too expensive, or like a mulligan in your opening hand. So the control decks that it could go in just don't typically play white, or have better things to do for 6 mana. And it doesn't even when you cast it, it doesn't help stabilize against flyers, unblockable things, trampled things, big things that well. I don't know. I expect a lot of 6 mana cards, but this card I'm just finding not maybe quite efficient or powerful enough compared to other options in the cube. I do like it though. I haven't been able to use it myself yet. So I'm actually curious to hear maybe if other people have liked it or used it well. Okay. That was an incredibly long video. I recommend watching this at 2x speed. Should have said that at the beginning. Any questions? You know where to reach me. Discord. Thanks for listening. Open to obviously chatting, having feedback, blah, blah, blah. All right. Thanks, man. Talk to you later.